Hello, welcome back to my channel. We have made it to the end of another year, in particular the end of 2020, which has been quite a year. If you've been around on my channel for a while, then you'll know at the end of the year I like to do a little video looking back at what has happened in the last year for me in particular, and also looking towards what I have planned for the coming year. So that is what we're doing in today's video, so I hope you enjoy, and let's go ahead and start with January 2020 when Jonathan and I were in Japan. This was a hugely exciting trip for me, one that I had been looking forward to for so many years because I've been wanting to go to Japan for so long. I did vlog the whole thing, so if you do want to see the videos, I'll have them linked in the description box down below. But we spent 3 weeks in Japan. It was winter while we were there. The first week we spent in Tokyo, which was amazing to just be in the middle of all the hustle and bustle, to just get an idea of how many people really are in the city. On the 1st of January, to see in the new decade, we actually went on a Ferris wheel, so as the sun was rising, we were watching it from the top of a Ferris wheel. We went to Tokyo Tower, the Sky Tree, a bit of shopping in Harajuku. We got the famous candy floss. We went to Disneyland, which was my first time visiting any Disneyland, so that was very exciting for me, although the 3-hour waiting in line for each ride was not what I was expecting. And then the second week we spent in Kyoto and Osaka. We stayed in Kyoto, but we were doing trips to Osaka, so we went to the world's biggest aquarium, I believe, which was in Osaka. We saw a lot of temples and shrines, particularly in Kyoto. We did Universal Studios, which was something I was so looking forward to. Nara Deer Park was amazing. I loved all of the different animals that we got to see, so the deer were really cool. They were so greedy because they're so used to being fed, so they literally would come up to you and tug on your coat. Very cheeky, but very cute and a good time. Then we spent a few days in Hiroshima. We saw the Peace Memorial Museum. We had some amazing okonomiyaki, and we actually got to make our own little pancakes. We went to Miyajima Island while we were there, which was incredible. We went to another aquarium and put our feet in the water with the little fish that eat your dead skin, which felt really weird. Took the cable car up the mountain and then walked down, which was very scary. And then we went back to Tokyo, stayed a little bit north of Tokyo in Saitama for a few days and saw the snow monkeys, which was another favorite of mine. We also made it to the Studio Ghibli Museum in our last few days, which was very lucky because you had to book like 3 months in advance and you couldn't just turn up and get a ticket. So we luckily had looked into that before we went to Japan, so we had a ticket, we were able to go. It was really cool. So that was how our year started, and it was amazing. It was like the best trip. It was so cool. I was a little bit worried about losing Jonathan the whole time we were there though, especially in Tokyo because it was so busy. I literally just like held on to his arm. But yes, such a cool trip. So then I guess something that affected the entire world, although New Zealand was pretty lucky, but we did go into lockdown for the first time in March. So I actually really enjoyed the first lockdown. I felt like I wasn't working even though I was, because I could wake up late, I could have my breakfast while I checked my emails, I could schedule posts to go up for my students to see, so I didn't have to actually be there at the time that they went up, so I could like schedule it all the day before or the night before to go up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I could just kind of work at my own pace. I just responded to parents' questions, made sure there was a bit of work online for students to be doing each day. It was very relaxing, very chill. Basically, I can't remember how long it was. I think it was about 6 weeks, that first one. 6 weeks, a month and a half of just being able to do whatever I wanted. And then when we went into level 3, I was called on to be one of the bubble teachers at school, so most teachers got to continue being at home and working from home, but a few of us got called on to be at school working with the kids whose parents had to start going back to work, so the kids had to have somewhere to go. So that was my job for another few weeks. I think that was about a month and a half as well. That I found not too bad, but a little more stressful than being in lockdown. The real stress for me came when we went back to school as normal, because I had some kids in my class that did not cope. I think they really enjoyed lockdown and the kind of more slow-paced lifestyle that they had gotten used to. They got used to being around their parents all day, every day, also being on devices all day, every day. And then we came back to school, we were trying to like settle them back down have them not on devices all day every day, and they just didn't cope. I just had a couple that like ruined it for the whole rest of the class for that entire term. So that second term for me was very, very stressful. I was crying every single day, not having a good time of it. Yeah, I didn't really cope with coming back to school, which I'm putting on those kids that didn't cope, but I also think it was probably more than just that. I probably got used to the lifestyle being more slow-paced as well, so it was a bit of a shock to the system for all of us, I think. Another thing that was good about lockdown for me was, and I know this is like everyone did this, but I learned to make bread. I had never tried to make bread because I don't have a bread maker, but I discovered this Dutch oven bread recipe, and I thought I'd give it a go even though it took 6 hours, and oh my goodness, it's the best bread recipe ever. So I make it not all the time, but when I have a day that I don't really need to go anywhere or do anything, and I can just be at home for 6 hours making my bread, I do that. So I made it on Christmas Eve for one of our Christmas parties that we were going to. It was the best one I had made yet. It was so good. Something not so good that came from the lockdown was that Jonathan missed a couple of events that he was supposed to be at. So he was meant to see Elton John, which I think was January, but then he got sick and couldn't come, and then we went into lockdown, so he rescheduled, he rescheduled before lockdown, but then lockdown happened, and so I think the concerts are not going ahead. And also he was supposed to fly to Australia with his friend to see Dream Theater, which is one of his absolute favourite bands, and I think that was supposed to be in April, but because of lockdown, obviously that didn't happen at all. So I know we got off pretty lightly, and then in the second lockdown, we unfortunately lost Jonathan's grandma, which was, we knew it was coming, but it also at the same time happened kind of suddenly. That was really hard because it was during a lockdown, so we weren't able to all get together as a family and support each other. The funeral was able to go ahead with just 10 people, so I wasn't able to go to that. It was literally like the closest family members, so that was really hard as well. The rest of us got to watch on Zoom, so I was just like sitting on the couch at home crying by myself, because Jonathan did get to go, but you know, I wasn't able to be there for him and support him in a time that he needed me. But when lockdown lifted, we were able to have a service that everyone was able to come to, so it was alright, but it was just a bit of a hard time for us. I absolutely understand that a lot of people have had a much harder year than I have. I'm not trying to compare my story to other people's story. I guess I'm comparing it to previous years, and it has been a little harder than other years. Anyway, let's leave COVID and lockdown and talk about something else that was also a little bit hard but also quite rewarding. This year was my first year doing a production as a teacher at my school. Most schools do a production every second year, so last year we didn't do one, and that was my first year teaching, and then this year we thought about not doing it because of lockdown. I said we weren't going to talk about lockdown anymore, but anyway, we ended up doing it. It was a little stressful because there was a lockdown in the time we were meant to be performing it, but we made it happen. We just kind of extended it so it went over 2 terms instead of 1. So I had to come up with a dance to teach my class. We had to make our costumes. I was in charge of the music for the whole thing, so I had to record some stuff, and I also had to teach the whole syndicate all of the songs. It was a lot of fun, actually. It was a little stressful, but a lot of fun. And now that I've been teaching for 2 whole years, I'm officially a fully registered teacher. So your first 2 years teaching in New Zealand, you are considered a beginning teacher, which means you're only provisionally certified. So you can teach, but you have to have a mentor that like helps you and guides you. And then after 2 years, you send off all your documentation and you hopefully get approved as a fully qualified teacher, which means that you no longer have a mentor. So I was approved. It took a long time, but I have been approved. And yeah, I no longer have a mentor, which is a little bit scary, but she has said that I'm welcome to come to her for help anytime I need, which is so lovely. And I'm now fully qualified. Jonathan was studying this year and it was just a 1-year course, so he also graduated at the end of the year, and he has found himself a job. We weren't sure how long it was going to take. It's definitely a harder industry to get into than teaching was, but he has found himself a job. He was pretty much like headhunted, which is very cool. So he is a music assistant, which is a great entry-level job. I think it's the best he could have expected coming out of uni. He actually earns more than me. This year we celebrated our 6-year anniversary, so Jonathan and I take it in turns to organise what we're doing for our anniversary. So even years are my years to organise. So I took Jonathan to Waiheke Island. We did clay bird shooting and archery, had a nice lunch, and then we went for a massage and we went to a really fancy restaurant for dinner. It's called the Mud Brick, which if you live in New Zealand, I'm sure you will have heard about. We had a 6-course, I think, degustation for dinner. Spent a lot of money, but it was amazing. It was a really, really lovely day and I'm glad that we did it. So those were kind of the highlights of 2020, highlights slash challenges. And let's talk a little bit about 2021. If you'd asked me a year ago what we were going to do in 2021, I would have told you that we were going to go to Europe for a big holiday, go and see lots of different countries. That would have been my main plan. Now, I'd say that's not going to happen. Rather than going on a big, expensive overseas holiday, since we're not able to, now that we are both working full-time, we should be able to do quite a bit of saving next year. Not 100% sure where that money is going to go, because obviously my initial plan was to spend it on an overseas trip. It might go on a house, it might go, you know, there's any number of things that it might go on, but I think we're just going to focus on saving as much as we can so that when the time arises when we can travel or we need it for something else, it's just there ready to go. Other than that, I don't have huge plans for next year. I am luckily staying at the same school again. I'm still on a temporary contract, but I'm hoping they'll give me a permanent contract at some point in 2021. I've been told I'm next in line to have a permanent contract, so it just depends on numbers of students at the school and whether or not anyone is leaving, which at the moment I don't think anyone is leaving, but if I stick it out, someone will leave at some point or the role will grow enough that I'll get that position. I am moving year levels that I'm teaching next year, which I am terrified about at the moment. I did want to. I said to the principal, I'm happy to go down in age. So I've been teaching year 3, which is 7 and 8-year-olds for the last 2 years. And I've always wanted to teach juniors, which is year 0 to year 2, so younger than what I've been teaching recently. So I told the principal that I was happy to go younger in age, and so he's moved me to year 2, which is only 1 year younger, so there'll be 6 and 7-year-olds, or 6 years old turning 7, which is perfect. It's what I wanted. But when I met my new class, I totally panicked. I ended up crying as soon as I left. It was literally half an hour and then I was crying. So now I'm really worried about it. I know that I'll be fine, and I think once I've had, you know, my 6-week holiday, I will be ready to go. I remember this point last year when we just finished for the year. Even while we were in Japan, I remember thinking I'm not ready to go for another year. And then at some point while we were in Japan, like I think it was all just ticking over in my head subconsciously. And I think that last week in Japan, I was like getting really excited with all these new ideas that I had for my new class. And yeah, those last few days while we were in Japan, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. I think we can go again. So I know the same thing will happen these holidays. Like at the moment, I'm just like, no, I can't do it. I can't start again with a new class, and it's just very scary. But I'm sure in a few weeks, but like towards the end of the holidays, I'll be ready to go again. I am moving classrooms because I'm moving year level, but the good thing is my new classroom is much bigger than my old classroom, so that's very exciting. I've been in quite a small classroom these last 2 years. So I have moved all my stuff already, but I haven't set anything up. That's going to be a big job at the end of the holidays, but I think once I'm set up and it's all like where I want it, I think it's going to be great. And that's basically all I have planned for next year. So I would say my feelings towards 2021 at the moment are apprehensive. I know I'll be fine, but at the moment I'm just not ready for it. But I am very glad that I'm staying at the same school. So I have my support network of people that I already know. I know I can go back to my old mentor if I need to. And also my previous team leader has said come and see me whenever. My new team leader seems really supportive as well. When I was like, well, he didn't come to me when I was crying about my new class because he was busy working, but later that day at lunchtime he came and sat with me and was like chatting about strategies. So he's really supportive as well. I know he will like have my back. I just love the culture at the school that I'm at, so I'm really happy that even though I'm scared about my new class and all that stuff, I'm just so happy that I'm at the same school with the same people. So that is me signing off 2020, ready to start, kind of ready to start a new year. We will take it as it comes. I will deal with whatever is thrown at me. And if you've had an awful year, which I know a lot of people have, then I'm hoping that 2021 will be better. I guess same as what I just said, we just need to take it as it comes, deal with life as it's thrown at us. So thank you for watching yet another end of the year video, and I will see you with a brand new video in the next few days. Bye!